have the honor, deep honor, of presenting to you the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Americans have always felt that the tomorrow of our children should be better than the yesterday of our parents. We share a faith in life that the best is yet to come and that we must build our future, not belittle it. In this spirit, I wish to dedicate your Flaming Gorge Dam.
My name is Jack Ellison. I was born in this valley. This is Daggett County, Utah, right on the border of Wyoming. Nobody much has ever heard of this place, I suppose. We're isolated by mountains and forests on one side and by rough rock country on the other. There's only one town in the county, Manila, Utah, a town that's just about as old as I am. The most important thing hereabouts is the Green River, which flows in a deep canyon just a few miles from town. The Green River collects water from Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. We consider it the headwaters of the Colorado River. The first white man to see this country came in search of beaver. Fur trappers, mountain men, took what beaver they could and left, leaving hardly a trace. In 1869, a government scientist named John Wesley Powell explored the river by boat. When he passed our valley, he entered a short canyon lined with colorful red cliffs. Powell called it the Flaming Gorge. It's a good name, I think. Then Powell went on down the deep canyons of the Green and the Colorado rivers. Well, in the next 20 or 30 years, our valley was settled and the farmlands cleared. Stockmen brought in cattle, and we built our little town. There were about 300 of us living here in 1957. And then it happened. On the Green River, downstream from our valley, men moved in to build a high concrete dam. The Bureau of Reclamation decided to call it Flaming Gorge Dam. Most folks here knew about the surveys and the planning for the dam, and we were mighty glad to see it get underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the canyon below, you can see Flaming Gorge Dam under construction. Flaming Gorge Dam is a major unit in a plan to develop the water resources of the upper basin of the Colorado River. Parts of 5 western states are involved. The land is fertile but arid, little rain falls except in the mountains. The main source of water is the Colorado River and its tributaries, but these have cut deep canyons and the water is hard to reach. To make matters worse, the volume of water in this river fluctuates widely from year to year and from season to season. As part of the Colorado River Storage Project, 4 storage units, large dams, are being built in deep canyons. The largest is Glen Canyon Dam on the main stream of the Colorado near the Utah-Arizona border. Navajo Dam is a big earth-filled dam on the San Juan River in New Mexico. On the Gunnison River in Colorado, 3 dams comprise the Curicanti unit. Near the Utah-Wyoming border, Flaming Gorge Dam will control the runoff from the Green River, the Colorado River's longest tributary. These storage units will even out the flow of the river, will permit controlled releases to meet downstream commitments, and will produce great amounts of hydroelectric power. Revenues from the sale of power will help pay for a large number of irrigation projects. These smaller projects will actually put the water to work, but they would not be possible without the big storage units like Flaming Gorge Dam. Materials and equipment manufactured in all parts of the nation will be used to build the 502-foot high dam and the 108,000 kilowatt power plant.
Lots of folks came to learn about Flaming Gorge Dam. I came myself about every week or so. A good group of men worked here, specialists, most of them. In the first couple of years of construction, they needed drillers and high scalers. To get the river out of the way while they worked, they drilled a long tunnel through the cliff around the site of the dam. On a cold day one winter, the men holed the tunnel through. Later, the tunnel was lined with concrete, and the Green River took a new route through the cliff. On the canyon walls, men shaped deep notches to anchor the dam. Down in the bottom, power shovels cut into the old riverbed and dug into bedrock. Then the foundation was cleaned and made ready for concrete. While the excavation was still underway, other crews were getting ready to place concrete. On the canyon rim at the dam site, they built the batch plant where 2 million tons of concrete would be mixed. And 12 miles away, a plant to wash and screen rock and gravel, the aggregate plant. Cableways were hung across the canyon to carry buckets of concrete. This equipment was pretty important, but people were important too. Up on the hill above the canyon, a new town was built to provide homes, schools, and stores for the workmen and their families. They named the place Dutch John, after one of our county's early pioneers. People who lived in Dutch John liked to travel and to visit. Often they drove over to see us in Manila. From the dam site, word went out that they were ready for concrete. Aggregate trucks, ag trucks we call them, loaded with sand and gravel, began to roll. It was a 12-mile haul to the dam site over a pretty scenic piece of road. But these drivers had no time for sightseeing. As the trucks arrived, aggregate of different sizes fed into the concrete plant where they mixed with cement and water and other ingredients. This big plant could make concrete almost all by itself. Daggett County's only railroad. We call it the Flaming Gorge Short Line. Carried the wet concrete from the mixing plant to the buckets. Each bucket carried 16 tons of concrete.
Easy. Right. Get it out of here.
The concrete was placed in blocks, in layers 7.5 foot thick. After a block had set up, the forms were raised and bolted into place. Each new surface was sandblasted and washed to prepare it for the next layer of concrete. Then more layers were placed in alternate blocks. Month after month, the work continued as the warm days passed. Autumn chill meant that winter would soon shut down a job, but work would continue until snow buried the dam. Finally, the day came when work had to stop. Until spring, the half-finished dam would wait for the workmen to return. With the coming of spring, the workmen came back. They got right to work again. By April, heavy construction was well underway. Throughout the summer, the dam rose until it was 500 feet high. In fact, the dam was so high that the buckets had to be lifted from that batch plant on the cliff up to the top. At last, there was only one bucketful left to go, and the boys dumped it with a little fanfare. The big job had taken 5 years. But somehow it didn't seem that long. Now, the gates of the diversion tunnel were closed. The lake we had been waiting for was born. Of course, I know Flaming Gorge Dam was built to control the river and to make electric power. But for a lot of people, it sure has made a mighty fine fishing hole. Our country has lots of wide open spaces. Even on Flaming Gorge Lake, there's room to roam and new things to see. There's even new places to camp. Well, the day came when water from the lake could be released through the dam to make electricity. Turbines and generators had been installed in the power plant, and everything was checked to make sure it was ready to go. Then the big day came. Over in Salt Lake City, President Kennedy arrived to start the first generator. While at the dam, 150 miles away, engineers waited for his signal to throw the switch.
But the important thing to remember is for 50 years, men have been talking about this project. It's now a reality. What are we going to do now so that 50 years from now, the people who live in Utah and the United States will feel that in the early 60s, we made the proper decision for the management of our resources. Water is the key. The management of water, I think, is the key that will open a very bright future. And therefore, I will now take action, which will start the first generator at Flaming Gorge Dam. I never know when I press these whether it means we're going to blow up Massachusetts or light a fire or electricity, but I will go on the assumption that we are going to start the generator.
When the President pushes the buzzer, we will wait then to hear from Mr. Walton over the loudspeaker, who will report on what the generator does. And thus you'll know, Mr. President, whether you blew it up or not.
We don't hear from him. It's back to the drawing board, and we'll start again. There we go. All right.
Mr. President, the generator is now running at full speed. The dam is built, and the power plant sends electricity to people in distant cities. This new dam means a lot to Daggett County. We're on the map now, and we'll have lots of visitors in the coming years. Of course, we'll always think of it as our dam and our lake. But we know that Flaming Gorge Dam really belongs to all Americans.